Marketing is overwhelming, isn't it? Especially as a solo business owner, there always seems to be a million things to do. You have to write your LinkedIn content or any social media content. You have to write a newsletter. You have to have a funnel. You have to do Google SEO. You have to be on Instagram. You have to write written content. You have to create video content. You have to be in DMs. You have to make sales calls. The list. You have to create a lead generation magnet, and you have to do free workshops. The list never stops to end. Okay, and there always seems like you can keep doing more and more and more and more with respect to your business marketing. And throughout these 2.5 years of me running the business, there have been so many moments where I have genuinely gotten so overwhelmed, burnt out, and have broken down because nothing seemed to be enough. And I, like most of us, was constantly bombarded by a lot of marketing advice and shoulds and musts and rules and regulations. I felt very boxed up a lot of times, and thank God for my mentors and coaches at that point of time to guide me, to bring me back to my soul, and to really make me realize what mattered the most and center myself for the next steps of action. And I got the exact feeling when I met Jo Cowper on LinkedIn. She is a marketing coach for spiritual business owners. And it was beautiful. It was almost like, I think we vibed from the start, and I immediately knew that I was going to bring her to this podcast because the way she introduced marketing, the way she spoke about marketing was so different to the typical broy marketing that we have seen on social media platforms. Hers was so soulful, and her primary focus was always to align your business with your strengths, with your passion, and what you love to do. And this was the reason that I brought her onto the podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode of Soulfully Aligned Business Podcast. I'm Shruti, your host and an intuitive business guide. And in today's episode, I'm welcoming Jo Cowper, who's a marketing coach. And we have gone deep. To be honest, I have actually asked her all the questions that were in my mind. Okay, I have used this whole session as a personal coaching session for me. And the questions that were always meandering in my brain and the ones that I have always wanted to ask. And I know for sure that these are the questions that are in your mind too, because of so many conversations that I've had with beautiful souls like you and similar souls who vibed in a similar energy. And by the end of this podcast, I hope that marketing becomes simpler for you. Marketing becomes more aligned with your true self. Marketing becomes less overwhelming, and you get an approximate next steps of action towards your marketing. Jo also has a beautiful masterclass. I've learned so much from it, and I'm going to add the links of it down below in the transcripts. And I genuinely hope it helps you and you take a lot of insight and information from this podcast. I cannot wait, guys. Thank you so much. Hey, Jo, thank you so much for accepting to come on this podcast. It's been an honor. And I genuinely loved our previous conversations and even our chats on LinkedIn, right? You saw right through me in most of the occasions, and that really built a connection that I cannot explain. So thank you so much for accepting to come on the show.
Total pleasure. Absolutely delighted to be here. Really looking forward to our chat.
Yeah. I think we have been connected to each other for a couple of months now. And the thing that always stands out is how you make marketing simpler for people and not that overwhelming. And each of your content, like each one of your content, it's so specific. It's amazing. It's Every time I read any of your posts, I always take something back. It's beautiful. It's genuinely beautiful.
That's lovely.
Thank you
That makes me so
for
happy.
reading that.
It makes me
Yeah,
really
yeah.
happy.
What made you start this business? Like what was your background? If you could give an introduction to people who are listening who don't know you,
Of course.
that would be really amazing.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I started the business. I already had, gosh, I'm trying to think, a good 16, 17 years experience of working in marketing at the time when I started the business. So it wasn't just something that came into my head one day. I had worked in large businesses, small businesses, charities, family businesses, non-profit businesses, all sorts of different areas. But what I'd really learned is that I love working with business owners who are actually shaping a business that they believe in, not according to some bigger, I don't know, national government agenda or according to some big corporate machine where you have no idea what's actually happening up where the decisions are made. I love working with people who are building a thing that they believe in and where you can actually see the impact of the work straight away. And so I found that I really enjoy working in settings where the marketing isn't like a separate function, in places where the marketing and the business are completely one and the same. And that's why I was super excited when my daughter was born, actually, to not go back into employment, but to start my own business, helping other people, far, far more people, basically, to get their businesses up and running the way they wanted it, because the strategy is my thing as well. And so I don't necessarily, I don't want to be doing everything for my clients, because you're able to do this for yourselves, right? People, the business owner is the person best placed to run the business, not somebody who comes in from outside. But sometimes it just takes a little intervention, a few months of help in order to actually get everything clear and then be ready to absolutely take off and fly. And I just wanted to be doing that over and over and over and over again. And that's what I love about starting my business.
Wow, wow. So can I assume that you typically work with solopreneurs or small business owners, like with small teams? Because I guess if the teams grow too big, then what you said, the marketing becomes a separate entity rather than a business, like rather than a part of the business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, I very much love working with businesses who are run by people who don't intend to let go and step away and leave. I mean, that's not to say they're shackled to their business for the rest of their lives, but I work with people who believe in what they're doing and they want to be part of the difference they're making. And
Yeah.
whether that is working with a small team, or a growing team, whatever that looks like, I'm happy to work with people so long as they believe in what they're doing and they want to be part of what they're doing. They're not feeling like this is my money making machine and I'm going to go over there and sit on the beach. That's not my person.
Wow, wow. That's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. When you said this, one of the key questions that I keep getting asked, even by my clients and the people I work with or talk to, is, for example, I serve coaches and healers, right? And everyone are like, okay, I have experience in coaching, like I have coached people, typically leadership and stuff like that, or I have experienced healing, working with healers and being in that environment. But they're like, if I'm starting my business from scratch, I don't know how to do sales. I don't know. So
Of
I
course.
see a lot of people who are quite confident in their skills, right? But they are not confident in marketing their skills. Even the word marketing sort of brings them the ick.
Yeah.
And it's like they get too overwhelmed
Yeah.
and they stop,
Mm-hmm.
or they just go all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So
It's true.
if, for example, if I'm someone who is starting my coaching business today,
Mm-hmm.
what would you suggest that I do?
Yeah. No, it's a really good question. And it's such a tough one, I think, because so many business owners start their business because they love to deliver the thing they do. They want to
Yeah.
make that difference. And the marketing almost feels like a barrier that's standing between you and the difference you want to make, because you can see all these people in the world who you feel like, I can help those people. I want to help those people, but they can't see me. And I have this monstrous barrier that's been put between us, and I just can't get past it. What now? I'm going to try and make this seem very simple. As we all know, it doesn't always feel simple, but that doesn't mean it's not simple, right? The difficulty is all in your mind. The difficulty is always in your mind, because we build up this idea that marketing is some like magical entity of its own, or that it's some kind of monstrous, dirty, sleazy, bad thing that bad people do. It's neither. It's an act of service, right?
Yeah.
When you are marketing your business, if you dig into, well, why am I marketing my business? I'm marketing my business because I want to help those people. And if those people can't see me, I can't help them. So it is my job to reflect as much of myself and my work to them as I possibly can, in order that they can recognize that and know that I'm there to help them. And this shift, where you recognize that you're there to serve people, to make a difference, and of course to make a good living, right? Because sadly, we do need to make a good living in order to live. That's just the reality of the situation. But you're there to do a good thing in absolute good faith for people who will really benefit, and they can't benefit unless you can show them what you do. So your marketing isn't different from what you do. It's the same, right? It's the same thing. It's being the same person. It's speaking with the same voice. It's showing the same authenticity. It's showing the same, it's the same type of help even. It's just to a less deep extent, because I guess the difficulty for, obviously all business scenarios are different, but no clients have got generic problems, right? Each of us has got our own personal problem. It may be that we've all got the same personal problem, but it doesn't feel generic.
Yes.
So as a business owner, even if you, through your marketing, give away practically everything, you show them everything that you know, the people who want your help will still want to work with you because they can see what you're all about, but they need your help to apply it to them. And so there's no danger in showing what you're capable of through your marketing, in showing how you can help. Because for the people who want to pay for help, and this is important because there are people you'll help free of charge through your marketing, and that's all they ever want. And they're not going to pay you or anybody else. There are other people who want to invest further, and those people will be able to see that you're the right person to invest in if they can understand.
Yeah. And you brought such an important point earlier, because typically so there's so much talk about layered offers, low-tiered offers, mid-tiered offers, high-tiered offers, or when we are using free masterclasses or webinars as a mode of marketing, and the typical advice that everyone gives is tell them about the what and why, don't tell them about the how, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the typical advice that I've constantly seen, at least in my own experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so essentially, and please correct me if I'm wrong, essentially what you're saying is it's okay if you say the how, because even if you do say the how, it's not going to, it might help them until an extent, but it's not going to really help them until they actually pay to work with you, because it's so unique to their business and their mindset and where they are in their life and their own problems. Right?
That's right. It will apply to different people effectively. There are people who, and they're fortunate people, who are able to take all of the pieces and assemble them and come up with all the answers by themselves. That's great. Yeah. Whether or not you tell them how, those people will manage to do that because that's how they are. That is their gift. That's their ability. It's their nature. It's their preference. It's how they are. Mm. Then there are people who work better with support, right?
Yeah.
And those people, whether or not you tell them how, will benefit from support and input. I mean, we are social creatures, I think, to a certain extent as well. And so, even in my own business, I have the skills to help people clearly find a strategy and find a pathway. But if I'm left alone in my own head, I can still go in circles all day long.
Yeah.
Because often you need a person who is outside of your head to help you see, no, this is the thing you keep saying, this is where you need to stop. And when you're so close to it, it's extremely difficult. The big difficulty in marketing your own business or in growing your own business isn't that the skills are hard. It's not that you don't know how to do it or that you're any less able than anybody else. It's just that when you and the business are so closely interlinked, it can make you feel very vulnerable. And often it's helpful to have somebody who can support you, who can help you to stay confident of the brilliance that you have and of the difference that you're making, in order that you can reflect that in your marketing without feeling as though you're being boastful or you're being bad or you're being salesy or whatever else.
Yeah. Wow. The one point that really hit me hard through this phase of conversation is that, because I have seen this point also bring friction to business owners. How much of myself do I keep? How much of myself do I give? You know, what is that limit even? Right? So if I'm preparing a webinar, can I give it my all? Can I really share? Because they are passionate to do that, right? So there is this whole range of overthinking that goes on about how much should I put in? How much should I not? Like, if I put more than this, will people take everything that I've got and not pay for my actual service at all? Like, so that is a whole range of questions that go in, I guess, every business owner's head, especially because social media tells you that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And thank you so much for clearing that out, because even for me, I had that question.
It's
Thank you so much for clearing that.
Well, not at all. And also, it's a personal choice, right? There's not a rule. There's nobody that say, this is how you have to do it. It is essential that you give away everything or that you give away nothing.
Yeah.
It has to be something that you're comfortable with. And what can be difficult is when you're surrounded with the social media feed of a business owner that is often full of business advice and marketing advice and sales advice and what you should do, this. And everybody's got a different piece of advice. And you end up trying to follow 35 different systems at once and thinking, well, I don't know where I should focus. I don't know what I ought to do. Is this right? Is that right? And this is why I really fundamentally believe that with your marketing, as with your service, you need to tap into what's inside. You need to express that your truth effectively and do it your way. Because when you're working with your clients, if your marketing works and people come and work with you, that's what they're going to get.
Yeah.
So there's no harm in showing that early doors.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's so true. Okay, so we spoke about the mindset one needs to have with marketing, right? It's essentially, I don't want to call it marketing because it's just us. We are just putting ourselves out there.
Communication.
But yes. Wow. I love that word, right? We're just communicating ourselves. But the question that keeps going in my head sometimes is, there just seems to be so much to do, like a million avenues to communicate what we do and our mission and our worth. And people create so many rules, right, in quotation marks. Oh, don't just focus on one channel. Make sure that if you're on LinkedIn, don't just be on LinkedIn, be on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Oh, you don't have a freebie, or you don't have a newsletter, or you don't have, various tiers of offerings, or you're not on YouTube, you don't have a podcast, right? And you're not doing SEO, you don't have a website. It just becomes, oh, you're not posting like 5 times a week or 7 times a week. You're not engaging 30 minutes before and after the post, right? It just becomes so much.
It's a job.
And and at times and I have got this question, and I think I'm using this platform to answer my own question, because at a time it becomes like, okay, am I spending all my days in marketing my business or in actually doing my business?
For sure. Yeah. And
right?
I think, such a good point.
And it becomes very overwhelming. And so it's not that I'm reducing the importance of marketing myself, because I know it's important, and I know, to put it very bluntly, I know I'm getting my bread and butter from there. Right?
For sure.
But to what extent? So if I'm someone who's starting my business today, what are the just top 3 priorities other than the brand work, right? I'm very clear about my vision. I'm very clear about my mission, all that. Just pure marketing works. What are the top three marketing work I need to do that it's important for my business? And at least for the first few months, I can do just that and reduce my overwhelm. Like, what would you say that?
This is the $1 million question, and this depends on the brand work. This is the key. There is not one single recipe that you must follow in the early days of your business. It depends on what the answers were to the brand work that you did, right? So this is why all of these off-the-shelf solutions are overwhelming and don't work, because you can end up following bits and pieces of dozens of them, because they each tell you these are the 3 most important things to do, or these are the 5 most important things to do. You have to do these 8 things. You must remember to do this. And you end up with a process, right? A big process, a marketing machine that you've built around yourself that you then have to serve. And you're pedaling along just to keep up with this hive of marketing activity. And you don't even know whether it works. You know, you're too busy to stop and look and think. So I can't tell you what are the main things that you should do, because that is different for everybody. But the way you can find out what you should do is to get clear on that vision first. And that's hard. Right? It's harder than it looks, because you think, I want to build my business. I want to have success. I want to help people in all these ways, like I see everybody else doing. Like, wipe the slate clean. Really just look at yourself, what you love doing. What are the types of work, the ways of interacting with people, the difference that you love to make, the difference you're good at making, all of that stuff. You look at that first so you can see what you want to achieve and what you want to get out of it for you as well. Do you want to be working 5 days a week, 2 days a week, 7 days a week? What's acceptable to you? That's the first thing, because that's going to set the parameters of what you're going to do.
Step one. Yeah.
Then you're going to really think about who is your perfect customer. And I know a lot of people say, I can't niche, I shouldn't niche, I should niche. Niching is not for me, it's for other people. Forget the word niche, just wipe that word away as well.
Yeah.
Just think about the people. Think about what would a person have to be like for me to be able to really help them? And you're going to come up with a set of criteria of the type of people that you love working with, the type of people who need you, and then add to that the type of people who are prepared to work with somebody like you. And so we've already eliminated the ones who are going to read a book and do it for free.
Yeah.
And who can afford to work with you, because you need to work to make money. And when you put these factors together, the people that you love working with, the people that you could help, and the people who actually want to work with somebody like you, you're going to get a pretty clear idea of what makes somebody your perfect client, right? And they could be in any industry, unless in your particular case you think, well, I only want to work with artists. That's your choice, right?
Yeah.
But it's not necessary. You don't have to make that choice unless that's something that matters to you. So once you've got an idea of what you want to achieve and who you actually want to talk to, then you've got a question around, well, what will I do? Like, what am I actually good at and enjoy doing? Because your marketing is going to be with you throughout your business career, really. So it's something that you're going to have to commit to doing. Best that you should enjoy it, best that you should be good at it. And of course, there are going to be things that you're good at. So perhaps you're going to think, well, actually, I love conversations with people. That's where I really shine. So perhaps you're going to start a podcast. Perhaps that's going to be your thing. Or you might think, well, actually, I'm a words person. I can only really express myself in the quiet when I put pen to paper or start typing, in which case you're going to work on long form content. Perhaps you're a really social person, in which case you're going to love networking and social media. But there isn't, if you're somebody who loves to be in the peace and quiet of your own little headspace, then you're not going to love networking and social media. So don't make yourself do that 7 days a week. It has to be something that's sustainable, that's reasonable, that you enjoy and that you're good at. Because that's how, sorry, I'm sounding really animated now, but this because I feel really strongly about it, that the correct or the best marketing plan for you is going to be the marketing plan that shows you at your best. And to show you at your best, it has to be something that reflects your brilliance, the way that you can communicate, and the way that you want to be seen.
Wow. Thank you for telling this out loud, because sometimes I think it's like we know this in our head, but sometimes we need someone to tell it out loud to validate what we feel, right? Because yeah, it's like just I think 2 months back I had a client and she was like, Shruti, I just hate writing. I can't do the social media game, right? But she was brilliant at going and talking to people. And thankfully, she had amazing communities in her city itself where she could attend events and have opportunities where she could meet her ideal audience at the place that they merge at, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, then why are you stopping yourself from doing that? Like, why are you doing this when you love doing that and when you're passionate about doing that and when you're good at doing that, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Again, as we said before, while we are good at pushing other people to follow
Mhm.
their visions and their strengths and their successes, for ourselves, we need that external,
Very
voice
often,
sometimes.
very often. Yeah, very, very normal, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
I would also go to say yes. And the other thing is that it is a common trap to fall into, that you think that all of your marketing activities are kind of separate and that
yeah.
your business activity is separate again. Whereas in fact, if you're doing your work, and as far as possible, your work is becoming your marketing, you're capturing elements of your work. And if you take your client who doesn't like social media, but she does love getting out and about, then if at some point
Mhm.
she wants to go into social media, she can very simply just share photos of what
Yeah,
she did when she went out, or a video that she took, or a conversation that she had. It doesn't need to be some separate stream of activity that needs to be created and like another monster that has to be fed. It can all be
yeah,
one thing. It's the one thing happens and you share it in the way that you feel most comfortable with. And once that becomes easy, or you think you could do with more, then you add another and you add another. But what you don't do is jump in and think, well, everybody is using TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, networking, so I need to do all of that too. Not at all.
yeah, yeah. And I think what most people forget, and that's also frustrating, that marketing is a long-term activity, right? It's a compounding activity. So in the initial days or even the initial years of the business, if I'm going to be honest, you would be working every day and probably not see equal equalized results for the effort that you have put,
Mm.
right? You would think that you're marketing every single day for a year, and the results that you expected from that might not match the effort that you've put. And that typically leads to a lot of frustration because you are like, okay, I assumed I would be at X place based on ABC efforts that I've put, but I'm not there. So am I even doing the right thing? Right. So the self-doubt part becomes a lot. And then
Sure.
you start you start letting others tell you to do this and that, and you try to inculcate that in your marketing efforts when it's not you at all.
Yeah, this is it. There is no quick fix. This is the thing. There isn't
Mm.
like one magic thing that if only you followed this person's system or that person's process, suddenly you'll be in a bed of roses. It just doesn't work that way. As you say, it's a compound effort.
Mm.
It's the sum of lots of parts. And if it's not working, if it's really not working, it's probably not a marketing problem.
Mm.
If it's really not working, and this is why my marketing that I do, it goes way deeper. I mean, the people I
Mm.
help are generally struggling with marketing, but the root of the
Mm.
problem is not marketing. The root of the problem is a lack of clarity in where you're going, who you're serving, and what you actually would love to consistently say about that.
Mm.
Even how you're going to package up the work that you do, how you're going to translate all that brilliance that you know that you can offer, that can be received by your client, into something that the client can recognize that they need. And you could say that's marketing, but you could also say it's offer development, it's business development, it's how you structure, everything. If it really isn't working, it's not because you're marketing it wrong. It's because there's something that's making you market it wrong. We say wrong because there's something that isn't aligned inside.
Mm. Yeah. So is it all a game of iterations and feedbacks and coming back to the whiteboard again and again?
It's there's a lot of iteration because a business is a living
Yeah.
thing. We're not going to just freeze it in time and do the same thing over and over again. But there is a question of getting clear on your own foundations, because otherwise it is going to turn into a game of following every wind that blows and every trend that passes, and every person who says that they're making a six-figure business this week.
Yeah. Oh
Which,
my God, don't even get me started.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever that even is, what which six figures are we speaking about? Where are we placing the zero? It's the decimal point rather. Anyway, it's absolutely about being clear about what you really can deliver and how clearly, how compellingly you can connect that with the person who needs it, and trying not to get swayed into all of these other draining activities along the way.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just processing our conversation and everything we said, because it's so rewarding to me. Because, and to give an example, right? I met someone, I think 3 days back, and she was like, Shruti, so I have two parts of myself, right? And I think that's also my next question, but I want to give an example to explain it better.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I am this really intuitive, impulsive soul, right? I have no lack of ideas. And I keep brimming with these ideas, content ideas that I want to bring to the world in terms of newsletters or in terms of just posts. Like, I don't mind writing every single day, like, even if it means like 3 times a day, because it's an itch to bring, right?
Mm.
And I get so excited, like, I'm an ideator. I get so excited about offers and ideas and everything. And that's one part of me, right? Offers and ideas and helping people and guiding, brainstorming with them and guiding people through their own problems, right? And that's one part of me. And there is this another part, which is which wants to be strategic, which wants to be disciplined, which wants to strategize her content and have a content strategy and stuff like that, right? Which also makes a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
right? But in my head, somehow, these two worlds are not coming together.
Mm.
The intuitive, the impulsive, the flowy, the fluid part of me
Mm-hmm.
somehow is not coming together with running a successful, profitable business.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm not able to see the two worlds merging together. And
Yeah.
and I was like, my first question to her was, can you make a choice of it merging together? Can you make a choice of seeing the possibilities? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, yes. So now my question to you is, if she has seen the choice, if she has made the decision to merge those two worlds together, how would it look like for her? And I know there are so many people like that, because I also come in that bracket. And
Mm-hmm.
as I told you before, I'm just considering it as a coaching call and getting all my questions answered.
So for me, the question there is, it's a really, really common scenario actually, in the way you've expressed it. It's very clear. I see a lot of people who are these kind of high idea generators. I've got all these different things. I've had even finished enacting this idea or completing this idea before I've got a new idea, and I want to go after this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. For me, this is a vision question, right? Because if your nature is to ideate all the time, I'm going to have these ideas, I'm going to be always chasing these things, and you want to tie yourself down to a structure, are you going to enjoy it, right? Is that actually what you want? There's a choice. There's a degree of introspection. There's a degree of thinking that needs to be done there, right? Because that is probably one of the biggest roots of the kind of borrowed vision scenario that comes up, where you think, right, I want to achieve this vision of success, even though I'm that person. It's complicated.
Acceptance.
Yeah. I think it's always, and there is no fixed answer, because it depends on the the way that you actually feel. And again, this is where I suppose the difference comes in between actually working with somebody over time and writing down a decision grid on a piece of paper that you can follow yourself 84 times through and come up with a different answer every time, right? So I think there isn't a right or wrong path, but there's a path that feels better to you, because you need to be building towards something that you would like if you got it right. You don't want to be building towards a version of success that requires you to be pinned down to one single idea that you have then created, and you will not be creating any others until that one is finished. If that just saps your energy and makes you hate your work, that's not going to be a useful plan to have, right? In which case, you're going to have to define a different vision of success, like a fluid vision of success, where the place that you arrive is a place where you are constantly able to create ideas and do new stuff, whatever. So it's, and this is absolutely the first thing I work with any of my clients, is really digging into what is that vision and challenging until they've come to a vision that they can convince me of, right? That I can listen to and not feel like, but hang on, there's still another version of you that's saying something different.
Yeah.
And typically, you know, during the course of time when we work together, it will come into question because other things will pop up. And at each point you can then ask yourself, okay, you know, this is a really good thing that's come up here. Does that mean that your vision has changed? And it gives you enough clarity to decide whether the vision needs to change or whether the idea or thought needs to be parked. Because I think until you can come up with something that works for you as a decision-making grid, if you like, a decision-making handrail, you're always going to come into this doubt because you just don't know. But I think it's super important you pin down one thing at a time. And the first thing has to be, what's my vision? Where do I really want to be? Not what do I want to be doing just right now, but start with, where do I want to be then? Track that back to, what would I have to do just right now to get there? Challenge it. And once you're happy that you've built something that feels good right now and feels good right up there, you know that you're on the right track and you can begin to work with it. And everything that comes along that contradicts that is like a little test that keeps on helping you to determine, did I make the right choice? Or actually, do I need to modify where I'm going? Do I need to modify where I'm going? Until by the end of the process, you've made your path, do you see? A path that you feel happy with, that's built around how you actually are.
Oh, wow. You know, first of all, you inspired me to have a post-it note in front of me to do that check-in every single day.
Yeah.
Right?
What's it say?
I'm not sure yet, but
Okay.
a check-in of whatever zillions of ideas I get every day. Is it compatible with my vision? What is my vision? Like, once I have it on my board, right, where I really want to go, where I'm not losing pieces of myself. Because most of us can very clearly see our future selves, right? Genuinely, if we ask ourselves, we can see ourselves in the future. And if it's compatible with every aspect of there is. My impulsive nature, my structured nature, my constantly ideating nature, everything. Right? So once I have that vision in front of me, and then if I have a small post-it note as a reminder that every time you get an idea to do something, please see if it's a stepping stone for that vision.
Exactly that. And stepping stones is the first exercise I work through with my clients, to be honest. And the kind of large version of the post-it note you're talking about, the outcome of the strategy work I do with people is literally to have a one-pager that is the DNA of what you and your business are all about. And that then becomes that kind of glorified post-it note, your decision tree, if you like. And so you've got something you can literally on one page stick on the wall that says, this is where I'm going. These are the people I'm excited to work with. This is why I'm the right fit for them. This is my big message and the thing that I want to share with them. And this is what I've chosen to do, to focus my energy on right now to get to where I'm going. And whenever another opportunity comes, you know that you've built that so strongly, founded in your own vision of where you want to go, that you can really check against it and think, right, okay, I made this piece of clarity. Do I want to burn that down because this new idea is so good? Or do I still
Oh,
believe that's the right clarity? And it helps you to
yeah,
navigate.
yeah, yeah. Wow. Thank you for that. Really. It meant a lot that you told whatever was in my head out loud in much, much better words than I could have ever done. Because it feels very heartwarming, especially on the days that you think you're going in the wrong path, you know?
Yeah.
And these reminders act as the strongest anchors. When you're like, oh shit, everyone's doing a zillion things. Like, why am I not doing all those zillion things?
Yeah. Yeah. And why am I not having a 6K day or making whatever? Why have I not gained 100 new followers because I put out a post today? Why are things going wrong? You can say that, okay, I'm building this future for
Yeah,
me because I want that and I believe in it. And I'm not you and I'm not him. I'm not her.
yeah,
I'm doing
yeah,
it my way.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, that was my last question. But do you have any parting words for the people who are going to listen to this episode? What do you wish to share?
I guess I would just say that, well, thank you for asking me that as a business owner, right, it's not the easiest path in the world. There are far easier things to do than build a business. It's
Yeah,
difficult. It will be uncomfortable no matter how much you try to work in ease and flow with yourselves. There are always going to be difficult moments. And so please make sure that you're building the business that you actually want, that makes a
Mhm.
difference, that you want to see in the world, because that's so important. You don't want to be building a carbon copy of somebody else. You might as well go and get a job. So if you're
Yeah,
building a business, then you are still, there's you and your customer. And those are the two people that matter in your business. Anything else, it can go.
wow.
It's not important.
Yes, yes. Perfect. Oh, thank you so much, Jo. This was such a beautiful conversation. And every time I record a podcast with an amazing soul like you, I keep getting reminded of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I'm being selfish by having these brilliant conversations. Just thank you so, so, so much for being there, for accepting, and for just sharing your nuggets of wisdom. Thank you.
Been an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed our conversation. Really nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you.